you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now. Got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now. Got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche And after 22 years, Raymond Mark!
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. Pierre McGuire right there, and I am Jimmy Murphy. And we are ready for some Frozen Four hockey tonight, Pierre, as well as a nice slate of NHL hockey too. But we will be going live shortly to St. Louis to our good friend Eric Lacroix to talk about the Frozen Four and tee that up, and maybe talk some Avalanche as well. And Pierre, speaking of the Avalanche, continues to be some good signs on the Gabriel Landeskog front. He is practicing with the Colorado Eagles, not yet known if he's going to play this weekend, but he is making progress. And head coach Jared Bednar said earlier today, if he tells me I'm ready, I'm putting him in. So that's a great sign for the Colorado Avalanche, Pierre, because I know you love him as a leader. It doesn't matter what necessarily he might do on the scoreboard. Just having him around for the playoffs will be a big boost for that team, huh?
And it's a big body for that team too. Just what they needed, another big guy to join their lineup. Yep. He's really good with board play. He's really good with slot play. He's really good in taking the temperature. I've been down there with him a million times. Taking the temperature of the team and just calming everybody down. Nathan gets a little wound up, which is fine. That's just the way Nathan is.
Yep.
So Gabe is the other side of that. Gabe is just, without losing his intensity, he's just like the balancing guy. So, and now without Ronton in there, you know, I think Natchez has done fantastically well there. Jack Drury's done fantastically well there. Charlie Coyle's done very well there. But without Mikko Ronton in there, that's another big body coming in the lineup. And so it's great. I'm so happy for Gabe. I've known him a long time. Boy, he was a gutsy kid. Not a lot of Swedish kids back in the day were going to play in the Ontario Hockey League when he went to go play for the Kitchener Rangers. And he's a special guy. He's a really, really good person.
Yep, for sure. And actually, speaking of Nathan McKinnon, his talk, they might just shut him down for the rest of the regular season, just give him some rest there. We'll see what happens with that. But they've got enough depth there that they can survive that for the last few games. Pierre, switching over to the Eastern Conference. I don't know how many times we're going to say this question. You know what? I'm going to make a rule. This literally is the last time I'm going to bring up the New York Rangers to you until their offseason begins, and we're talking about what might happen.
It could be tonight.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a break from asking what the hell is wrong with the New York Rangers. It's baffling. I don't get it.
Okay, so if you didn't watch, and I know you did, but if you didn't watch the game, the score is not very flattering, 8-5. It's not very flattering. No. But there are two empty net goals that go into that, so that's part of it. They weren't as bad as what people are saying, but they did give up. They gave up goals. I mean, obviously, they gave up 6, in the regular part of the game. Yep. But no, there's been something missing, Jimmy, for a long time. And I'm not making excuses for anybody. But you can not sell. You can tell there's a malfunction at the junction here with this group. There's definitely a malfunction. And I don't know how it gets fixed because I'm not in their dressing room and I'm not talking to their management people or their coaches, but something's going to have to get fixed there.
Yeah. I mean, it's just there. I don't know how to pinpoint it, Pierre, but when I'm watching them last night, you're right. There were times where wow, they got it. They're in sync. They seem to be following their game plan. There was structure. And then it's not like there's this sort of gradual disappearance of it. It just goes. It's like poof, it's gone.
That's a good way to look at it, Jimmy. So here's what I'd like to present to you. How we do these little things in the morning sometimes. And the one that we did that I thought was really good was the Rangers draft from 2012 and Montreal draft from 2012. And those numbers don't lie and those players' names don't lie. So one team's surging, Montreal, and one team's cratering, New York. And it's from their drafts from 2012 to 2024. You can see one group surged, Montreal, and one group crashed, New York.
Yep.
So here's what I'd like to say for something to pay attention to. If you watch the Philly Ranger game, Jimmy.
Yep.
And then if you watch the Tampa-Toronto game, you'd say this is two different leagues.
Right.
This isn't even close to being in the same league.
No.
And, you know, I talked to our good friend Scotty Bowman this morning. We were talking about Toronto and Tampa. And Jimmy, that was a hockey game.
Oh, it was great hockey.
That is a hockey game, man.
That was
that's playoff style.
Yep.
Tampa falls behind 2-0. They claw their way back in. Toronto doesn't fold the tent. Toronto's top guys, whether it's Mitchell Marner, Austin Matthews, Matthew Nye, Johnny T, Willie Nylander, no point. Willie Nylander played his tail off last night. He was really good. And they're doing that without McCabe. I'm just telling you, Toronto's going to be a beast.
Yep, I agree. Pierre, with that game too, I know sometimes you have to calm me down when sometimes I come to you and I say, I think that team sent a message there. You know, I said it the other night. What game was it with Winnipeg and St. Louis?
Winnipeg and St. Louis. He said they sent a message. I was like, Jimmy,
calm down. Isolate that game. Now let me ask you, would you agree that there was some message sending from both sides in that Toronto-Tampa game last night?
Well, Mr. Bowman agrees with you 100%.
Okay.
And I will just piggyback on Scotty's back and say I agree with you as well.
Okay.
And
know they're going to face each other. You know?
Well, so Scotty, we don't know that.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Could be not.
Yeah.
But here's what Scotty said. And I have no problem because I'm telling you exactly what he said to me. He said, you don't want to be, just what we've been saying on this show. You don't want to be in the 2-3 hole.
No,
you don't. And if you're Toronto, you prefer that Florida and Tampa play in the first round.
The hell out of each other.
And let them just have at it. Go have fun, boys. Knock yourself. Last year was a 5-game series, and Tampa rolled over. And it's not because they rolled over. They had a lot of hurt guys.
Where they were.
They just where they were as a group. They were worn out. They were tired.
Think of all the years before that.
That's what I'm saying. So they just no mas. They were Roberto Duran. No mas. And so now you look at if you're Toronto and saying, okay, maybe we get Ottawa, maybe we get Montreal. We don't know, but we're going to get one of the, if, you know, we finish first. No disrespect. You know what I think of Montreal, and you know how proud I am of all those guys I worked with in Ottawa. But no disrespect to either team. But you don't want to play. If you're them, you don't want to be in a rush to play Toronto. I wouldn't want to be in a rush to play Toronto.
I wouldn't either. And if I'm looking though right now, Pierre, and I'm not, you know, it's getting ahead of ourselves a bit, but if it is Florida and Tampa, I just like the vibe from Tampa right now as opposed to Florida, because as we've discussed numerous times, there's no other team that's been as beaten up from not just the Four Nations face-off, but then you factor in, much like Tampa last year, you factor in the 2 previous seasons that they've gone through. And it's just sort of all coming to a front here. Like they're starting to really feel it. And you can see it mentally and physically in them. If it is Tampa, Florida in the first round, I give a slight edge to Tampa. I think it's going to be a good series. I'm not saying Florida's going to roll over by any means, but I just feel like Tampa's kind of a little more refreshed and ready to go. Plus, as you mentioned, there's a little revenge factor in the back there from last year. So I would lean a little towards Tampa. You brought up the fact though with Toronto that it could be Ottawa or Montreal. That is not close to being determined yet. It could go down to the wire. If you're the Leafs, and I know you don't pick your opponents, you take who you get and you adjust. I get it. But I'm just talking strategically if we're just looking at matchups right now. If you're the Leafs, what matchup do you like better?
You mean between Ottawa and Montreal?
Yes.
So I'm not avoiding your question, but here's what I'll say. I need to know where Brady Tkachuk sits in this whole thing.
Okay.
Brady makes a massive difference for Ottawa. He really does. And I think most people that watch their team play know that. But here's what I'd say. There's something happening in Montreal. You and I don't even know.
We don't script this stuff. We hear what
there's something going on in Montreal. You know it and I know it.
Yep.
We're there. We're there a lot. We're boots on the ground there.
Yep.
There's something going on there that you can't put a number on, but you can say, man, oh man, these guys are a team. That you can say a lot of stuff. They're not deep enough here. They don't have a second line center. Maybe they're not big enough in certain positions at the wing. But I'll tell you one thing, you can't say they're not a team.
Yep.
They're a team.
I'm with you on that. And you know what? I 100% agree. My theory too would be the Brady Tkachuk factor. If he is physically and mentally zoned in, then I slightly lean towards, if I'm Toronto, I want to face Montreal. And that's no knock on Montreal, as you just said.
No.
And trust me, they scare me still. Like, I think Montreal, like, if I'm Montreal, I think they match up better against the Caps out of Toronto and the Caps. I really do. I don't know why. I just feel like
I'll tell you one reason why. Because Tom Wilson, as much of and he's a menace. And I say that in the most respectful way.
Right.
Tom Wilson knows there are two guys in Montreal that if he starts to be a menace, they can answer him. Mm-hmm. One is Josh Anderson. He's already done it. And the other one's Florian or Jack guy.
Yeah.
Arbor.
Yep.
So that you go into a playoff series and you're that guy, you know this is going to be a walk in the park.
Right.
You know, it changes a lot of stuff.
The other thing too, I'd say, Pierre, and I don't have the stats right in front of me to match up, but just, say Tom Wilson is Tom Wilson, but Tom Wilson crossing over the line and it leads to power plays. The way Montreal's power plays, the way they can, the weapons they have, and who knows what Demidov becomes? Who knows? Nobody knows. I'm not going to say he's going to be a huge factor because we don't know. Likelihood is it's going to take him time. He's not going to be what everyone thinks right off the bat. But you never know. It's an unknown factor that could play a role in any series. If he can come in and who knows, like he just rips it up, you never know. There's just so many question marks there with Montreal where I wouldn't want to play them. I'd rather play Ottawa, but then again, if you have Brady Tkachuk going, it's, pick your poison, I guess. That's the way I look at it. But we are going to talk to Eric Lacroix, and he is here right now, joining us live from St. Louis. What's up, my friend?
How are you guys?
I'm great. How's the temperature out there in St. Louis?
It's funny, like I quickly jumped in the shower. I was walking around all morning, and then all of a sudden I see it's raining everywhere. And I was like,
oh, wow.
My window's it's hitting my window. Bing, 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 bing. So, I mean, I don't know.
The worst time to be in St. Louis, unless you're from St. Louis, is during the playoffs. The humidity there is barbaric.
Oh, yeah.
It is so savage.
2019 year. You were there, right? 2019?
Dude, I've been there a lot of years. I'm just telling you, it's humid there. It's painfully humid.
Are you in that same hotel, Eric, that I see a lot of our colleagues are staying in, some Hilton that's right by the ballpark? Are you?
Yeah, you know what? I'm right next to it. I'm at the Hyatt right next to it.
Gotcha. That looks like a cool setup outside there, right around the ballpark. They have that.
Yeah, it's nice. And I think some teams are staying right there at the Hilton. Some teams are staying, I think BU and Penn State are staying at Union Station.
Okay, cool.
Which is, I mean, again, the arena's right there. St. Louis is downtown, not a big downtown.
You just stay out of that upstairs bar at the hotel. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it's the baseball stadium. I've never been there. I wouldn't know, but I'm just reminding you to stay out of there.
No, Eric, I'm good.
We were texting earlier today, and we both agreed when looking at the matchups and looking at the teams in this Frozen Four, it really is a toss-up. And is that kind of the vibe you're getting from a lot of people there?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that, again, I'm not an expert on college hockey, but as Pierre, as a dad of someone that plays college hockey, you get a little bit more familiar, with the teams, you know what I mean? And then, I'm not too familiar with Penn State. I did play with Guy Godowski in the minors in the American League. Great guy.
Yeah,
he was a talented guy. He was a good player. I thought he could, maybe different era. Maybe he obviously, if it would have been more towards nowadays, he could have played made his way up the American League and NHL. But what a good person. And, obviously DU is my backyard. And then BU, I've been a kid there and Western that I see against DU. So I can see a little bit. I think the common theme has been strong goaltending, all four in my book. You know what I mean? Like I don't know it's one game, right? It's not a series. It's one game. Who knows who can get hot, as a goaltender, who can make a big difference. So I think it's anybody's ball game. Obviously, I try to favor the allegiance to BU because my son's there. But, I think it's anybody's tournament to win, and I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fun time.
No, it's going to be a great time, and you should be so proud of Max, your son, and the job that he's done in his voyage to get to BU. It's amazing. The one thing I'd ask you, because you know DU really well, yeah. I don't know if there's a deeper team that's at the Final Four right now than DU. They're just so deep at every position. They really are.
I was watching their practice yesterday too, and there's something about them it's 3 out of 4, right? You know that they're there, so they know how to do it, and they've won multiple times. There's something about David Carl that he, not that the other coaches are not good. I'm used to David Carl because he's in my backyard, but uh, there's something, they're well prepared. I think it's one thing, World Juniors, it's a 2 week tournament, whatever it is, and 2 week, this is a year-round program that the culture is so big, and year in and year out they do bring it, and they're there, so they're well coached. They might not have the firepower that they got Boom and all those guys, but guys step up to the plate and do produce, and then whether it's Davis and net or their back end, and like there was a nice pickup there, underrated pickup.
Pole camp.
Yes,
Oh, great
yes.
pickup. Really good.
Wow, what a pickup that was,
Yeah,
right?
good
You know what I
pickup.
mean?
Yeah.
Good transfer. I mean, I we can say what we want about the transfer portal. I mean, it is what it is sometimes, but that's a good pickup. So I
It
think
is.
especially now that Buckberger is out for them,
Yeah.
that makes a big difference, and he becomes a little bit more valuable. So yeah, I think DU is well coached. It's a historic program. They got 10 national championships. I mean, a lot of people talk about the Avalanche, as 1995, 96, and Charlotte Graham, but people tend to forget, like, DU Pioneers have been there for a long time, way before the Avalanche, and
That's a
Ron
great point
Graham,
for
and
you.
like
Yeah.
Charlotte reminds me
Hey,
all the time that the Pios were there way before the Avs.
Jimmy, he's not saying the guy that really did the Colorado Avalanche thing, his father, the late Pierre Lacroix, who's a Hockey Hall of Famer. So he's not going to say that. He's going to talk about Charlotte, who's great, who I know really well. But Pierre was the driving instrument there.
Yeah.
Hey, one other thing that Eric just brought up, Jimmy, that's really important about DU, if they don't dominate faceoffs at this Final Four or Frozen Four, they're not going to win, because that's their strength. They go 4 deep at center and they dominate. They dominate center ice play. They really do. So faceoffs going to be a big part of it for them.
Yeah. Looking at BU, Eric, young team, but a ton of skill. How has Jay Pandolfo done, in your opinion, in terms of overcoming the inexperience and utilizing that skill?
Yeah, I think again, if I'm not mistaken, they're the second or third youngest college hockey team in the country. So I think, as a hockey fan, forget about a guy that sees BU a lot. I think they were a little bit frustrating to watch, at the start of the season, and I think Jay alluded to that. He was like, "Oh, it's a frustrating group," because, as we all know, Jay was all about details, and that's how Jay, unbelievable college hockey player, and then goes pro and finds his nest and knows how to play, and then next thing you know, he's winning Stanley Cups, right? So now he's got 7 Final Four appearances out of 7. But Jay knows what it takes to win, and I think at the start of the season they were a little bit like Jekyll and Hyde. You didn't know what you were going to get,
Right.
and then I do believe, after a certain amount of time, like I mean, not Lane, sorry, that's Montreal. Cole Hudson. I think he took a lot on his shoulders, and I think he came back from World Juniors and said, "I didn't like my first half. It's on me." You know what I mean? And I like that as a fan, as a dad, and those kids come to our house too. We're lucky to have a place there, and and the kids come to the house on Sundays. Those kids are great kids, especially those young kids, and they're so fun, and it keeps me young, and you know how it is here. It keeps us young. You know what I mean? So it keeps me young, and those kids are awesome, and I think there was a big factor, and I think Cole started dominating, and then all of a sudden they won that. You guys were there. That Bell pot.
I was
I
just going to
think,
reference that.
yes, it was important for them to
Yep.
feel that, and then the bean
They
pots. I think
bonded too.
they started to bond, and then to figure things out of how to win. And I think the coaches have done a great job about relaying that message. This is how you win. You don't want to get stubborn with your game. It doesn't work.
Right.
It's not pee wee hockey anymore. This is how you're going to win. And I think those kids have been great. And then again, as a father of a goaltender, I think the arrival, and it's no knock on my son or Matthew Caron or Billy Gerard that were there. Like, Yegorov's made a big difference. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
And I think Big Mike is awesome.
Yeah.
And this is the dad and the hockey guy telling you, like, it's awesome because he's been fantastic. The kid's 18. He's going to play in the National Hockey League. I'm convinced of that for a long time. I saw Fitzy the other day. I told him, I said, yeah, way to go. You know what I mean? Like, no, but he was laughing. But at the end of the day, I think Yegorov's made a big difference. And I think it's important. And then you get to the Final Four. I just said it, Jimmy. You just said it. All 4 goalies are pretty good. Don't sleep on that guy in Western Michigan. Holy cow, that LA pick, he is good. He's
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
So I think it's exciting, and I think BU's turnaround kind of coincided with all those things, the Bell Pot and Big Mike arrival and all that kind of stuff, and we'll see if they can pull it off.
Jimmy, now I know why we want to have Eric Lacroix on, because he gives you the straight goods. Because everything he just said, I'm just like rubber stamping. Yes, 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 yes. Can you imagine how good Boston University would be this year if the Montreal Canadiens didn't sign Lane Hudson and San Jose said, you know what? We're just gonna leave Macklin Celebrini there for another year, kind of like what Owen Power did at Michigan. Just don't even play the Frozen Four, because you're going up against the Masters and the opening of baseball season. Just give them the trophy. Could you imagine how good BU would have been this year? Nobody's even talking about that.
I know, it's crazy because you forget, like, only a few months ago they were playing. You know what I mean, right? I mean, it's like it's only a few months, and then those guys have been. I mean, talk about the Calder race. How great is that? And
come on, that's not even a race anymore.
No, for me it's Lane, right? I mean, I think Lane wins it. I'm just saying, but the last few months, and Dustin Wolf and guys like that. But it's funny because that, for Jay and those guys, it's kind of a nice recruiting tool too. You know what I mean? Like it's like, hey guys, look what look what we're doing. Look what we've been doing. You know what I mean?
So Eric gets to see this because he hears it from Max, his son. But I'm going to say it for our audience. So if you're the backup goalie, 9 times out of 10, you're facing the number one power play in practice.
Mm-hmm.
So last year he got to see Celebrini and Lane Hudson. This year he gets to see Cole Hudson and Cole Iserman. Iserman took Celebrini's spot on the power play.
Yeah.
Why didn't you let Eric tell you about that?
Well, I'll tell you a quick story. Like, so as you know, in the summers, like they have those captains practices, and I think that after a while, like, I think the boys were at the house and they're like, hey, Mr. Lacroix, I'm like, oh my God, call me Eric, you know what I mean? But they're like, hey, why don't you come run practice for us tomorrow? Like you do, Pierre, in the summer, right?
Yeah.
So I went out there, and I got to be honest with you, I can't move anymore. I am so bad, but I got the whistle and I can push pucks still, you know what I mean? So I got out there and I'm pushing pucks around, and then all of a sudden, you hear that puck whistle by, and then you're like, it hasn't started anything. You're like, what was that? Because it's special, right? It is special.
Different noise for sure.
And I told the guy that I'm going to tell you right now that, and I told him when I went back and I saw him in training camp with Joe Sakic, and I said to Joe Sakic, I said, Joe, I found someone that's got I'm being honest, sorry, you've been dethroned. Like, it's the sickest shot I've ever seen in my life, live, on the ice.
Right.
Because in practice, you'd get that thing and you'd be like, what was that? And it was Joe's wrister or whatever, or Joe's shot. And then Cole Iserman shoots the puck, and it's special. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. And then I turned around, and I think it was Jack Harvey or some kid that saw me. He looked at me, he started laughing. He goes, oh yeah, you're seeing it now, right? I was like, oh my God, like it's unreal. Like and I think Cole, you can say what you want about him. By the way, he's a great kid. But like, oh, his game is one dimensional. Fair, you know what I mean? Like, that's fine. It needs work. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's one dimensional. He puts the puck in the net. Well, I mean, if there's one thing it's hard to do in the NHL or whatever it is, to put the puck in the net. And I think the rest you can try to figure out and teach them. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I think Lou knows, for example, Mr. Lamoriello, Jay Pandolfo's at BU, right? You know what I mean? And it's like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And Cole's gonna learn. He's a hard worker, but yeah, he's a special player. I think he wants it. He wants to be the guy. And if there's a minute left, he wants the puck. Give it to me and I'll put it in the net. So
he broke the hearts of my alma mater there, UMass, and that.
Yeah, that's right. That's that game. Yeah.
I mean, what a moment there. He sees that moment and he went, what a shot he's got. It's unreal. Great stuff there. Hey, quickly, we were talking in the beginning. I just want to mention it with you because you're so close to the Avs. How excited are people in Denver about the prospect of Gabriel Landeskog returning?
Well, I tell you, it's been awesome. And just to rewind the tape a couple years back, remember at playoffs, right before playoffs, he was kind of skating a little bit. People were like, oh, he might play round 2. And then you're sitting there and you're looking at him, you're like, I don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but like he's running at like maybe 8%. No, I can't even say 10%. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, they were done, eliminated. Next year, same thing, whatever. Oh, he might play. And you're like, what? And then this year he started to skate, like, and you're like, man, he's got a long ways to go. But you can tell he's put in the work. You can tell he's put in the work somewhere by himself for sure.
Yep.
And then obviously jumping in, as you know, they don't practice a lot. People think they practice every day in the NHL. They don't. You know what I mean? So I think he's found his ice. He's found his way. Looks like he might play this weekend in the American League. Oh man, I tell you one thing, you don't want to miss that one when he makes a come. And again, I think it's when, not if, you know. I'm gonna be excited. I love Gabe Landeskog. I was working with the Avalanche when we drafted him, and soft, you know, I got a soft spot for him. And you see a guy going through that, and you're like, oh, I want to be there just to clap and, you know, tip my hat to him. You know what I mean? And I think it's gonna happen. It sounds like he's going to play this weekend. What an emotional boost. I think we lived it a little bit with Stamkos and that, was it the bubble? But I mean, it's so different, right? There's no one in the stands and, you know, like it's just different. But we'll see. You know, I mean,
speaking of stand, hey, Jimmy, Eric knows, like, he's an operator. Can you imagine the owners in Colorado with the going to play in the American League? There'll be no seats available.
Oh no, there's a buzz going on. This
yeah,
there'll be no.
That's an media passes, everything.
I saw on Twitter they're even selling the jerseys, Landeskog jerseys, and they're flying off the shelves.
Yep.
That's so good.
That's
You're the best. I'm so proud of Maxie. Please tell him I said hi. Thank you for coming on. You're an amazing
thanks,
friend.
Eric.
Thank you.
Enjoy the game.
I'll just finish it right there. I was listening to you guys, and you were talking about Montreal Canadiens, and Pierre knows I'm from Laval, proud Montreal Canadian fan growing up. I was talking to Kent yesterday, another BU parent, right? And I told him, I said, this is what I see from the outside about your team. I said, they seem to have fun. And too many times NHL teams don't have fun. You know what I mean? And I said, your team seems to have fun. And he goes, you're right on that one. They do, and they get along well. So there you go. Here's
he
my
just
tidbit
gave us an
Canadians.
endorsement, Jimmy. I love it. My old players endorse some of the ideas. It's good.
I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Eric.
Eric.
You have a good one, buddy. Safe travels, all right?
Yep.
We will. Thank you,
Good
guys.
luck with Maxie.
Bye.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Former NHLer Eric Lacroix joining us here. It's always a pleasure to talk to him. And it was great here. I got to run into him over St. Patrick's weekend and before UMass BU. It was awesome. And it was pretty funny. I didn't realize how tall he is. He's pretty tall. And now then again, I'm pretty short, so everyone's tall next to me. But
no, but he was a mean player.
Yeah, I could tell it. But so he
when I was
recruiting, I don't want to be in the corners with him. Yikes.
So when I was recruiting him, I told my boss at the time, I said, he'll come. He's coming. He committed, but he's only going to be here a year or two. And he goes, why is that? I said, because he's going right to the pros. He's not going to be here very long. And so it was 2 years and he was out.
Yeah, he must have known Ray as well, Pierre?
Oh, yeah, he knew Ray very well.
That's good stuff.
All those guys, Greg Carville, Danny LaPerriere, Marty Lacroix, Eric's brother, all Sean Rivers, all those St. Lawrence guys, they all knew him. Russ Mann, Michael Hurlbut, all those guys knew Ray really well.
I wanted to mention too, St. Lawrence and the ECAC, our good friend Eric Christensen, the commissioner there.
Doug Christensen.
Doug Christensen, the commissioner there. Great job by them with their tributes that they put up yesterday for Ray Shero. So good stuff there.
You know what's really cool? You find out just how revered he was. And I've, been doing shows pretty much all the time since this has happened, unfortunately. But I got a beautiful note from the Pittsburgh Penguins, Jen Bolano, who runs a lot of their media. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing a show with Paul Steigerwald on the radio before the Penguins game with the Devils. And then I'm doing some TV stuff before the game as well, just because of what Ray meant to the franchise there. And I told him, I said, don't work. They said, well, it's open. We'll make it work. And so the Penguins deserve a lot of credit on this. They really do. And thanks to Jen and everybody in Pittsburgh for reaching out. Really appreciate that.
All right. Great stuff. Good stuff. I look forward to watching that. All right. Let's get over to our sponsors right now. TCS Customs and Logistics. You know where to go right now to unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting. TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces, and delivering a peace of mind. For a no-obligation customs or freight quote, contact sickpodcast@shiptcs.com. Again, that is sickpodcast@shiptcs.com. And, of course, our wonderful friends over at Betway, where you can still go right now with your first bet. If you're a new customer, if you sign up using that QR code right in front of you there, if you're watching, or go to the details section of the website and create your account there, and you can earn up to $200 if your first bet loses. That's right. You get paid to lose. Not a bad deal. But you can go there right now. Again, it's only available for new customers. It is not available in Ontario. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 18 plus, and please always play responsibly. Let's go to our sick picks of the night.
It's time for Sick Picks, brought to you by Betway.
All right, I got 2 picks here and 1 warning too. We brought this up earlier in the week, I think, Pierre, or maybe even right after the last time Carolina and Washington played with all the fights and everything. And he said, who knows what the heck could happen now in this game? Both teams have clinched now. There's just too many question marks. I think that you never know. There could be a lot of trips to the penalty box. It just could go so many different directions. I highly urge people to stay away from that game. And oddly enough, too, the Capitals are heavy underdogs. I don't know why. They're putting a full lineup out there, but maybe the odds makers are trying to lure you in there. So just be careful if you're looking at that game, because that could go in so many different directions. But I'm going to look at the Florida Panthers, all right, who, yeah, they banged up. They're missing some guys right now, but they get a shot at Detroit Red Wings team who took advantage of all their injuries in Detroit back on Sunday and beat them 2-0. They've got some guys back since then. They seem to be moving a little better, getting their legs going again under them, and they're still in the hunt. They're not, they're not completely out of it when it comes to the division, but it looks like they're going to be in a 2-3 slot, but there's still that light that they could move out of it. So I think they seize that hope there. And then a little revenge on the Red Wings. I like them on the puck line, -1.5, plus 124 value over the Detroit Red Wings. And then I'm going to go to the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Buffalo Sabres. When these teams get together, they tend to score a lot of goals. The over-under is at 6.5. Jump all over that over. I think there's going to be goals galore in this game between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Buffalo Sabres. All right, let's get to that Q&A. What do we got? Bill Van Vagel, if there is a top prospect that is 19 and can't play in the NHL, can teams send them to Europe to play pro? I'm thinking, is it Zane Pareke? How to pronounce that name, Pierre, so I don't keep murdering?
You got him.
Oh, Pareke. Okay, who has nothing left to prove in junior but can't play pro unless it's the NHL.
No, but he can go play college hockey now if he wants. Austin Matthews is an example, but he did as an 18-year-old. He didn't sign a player form with Major Junior. So if you're a part of a Major Junior organization, you can't go play in another pro league, but you can go play college.
But Pierre, with Zane was just called up by Calgary, does that change anything?
In terms of what?
Like, can he go back to college? He can't play college, right?
No, now it's over.
Yeah, now it's over. But he could have if he had been in that situation. Okay, I see.
Yeah, but it's over now.
Okay. All right, next question. Bill Van Vagel again. How much will CIAU hockey suffer next year with the new NCAA rules? Will there be a talent drain or perhaps players aged out of the USHL?
Yeah, they call it U Sports in Canada right now. I've been watching a lot of American League and East Coast League games, and there are a lot of U Sport players are actually coming in late and playing. They're former Major Junior players. I don't think it's going to be an issue because most of those guys that are playing there, they're 20-year-olds that aged out. And they weren't good enough to make the NHL, so they go play U Sports, and then afterwards they become minor league players. And I hate to use the term minor leaguers, but they're in leagues below the NHL, whether it's East Coast League or the American League, and they play. They get paid. They're professional players. They get paid to play. So I don't know if it's going to hurt the U Sports very much in Canada. I don't think it will. I think what it's going to hurt, if you want to know, I think it'll have a role in the USHL. And I think it'll really affect prep school hockey. I think it'll hurt both of those.
Yep. All right, next question. Bill Van Vagel again. Of the top 12 AHL point leaders, only one, Justin
Ritzkovian
is under 24. Are top prospects going to AHL to improve defense, or is it just difficult to develop offense in the AHL?
No, but it's both. Top prospects are going down and learning how to play pro. That's a grind. It's like there's some prospects, high picks that are playing in East Coast League too. They're going down to do their chores and they're getting lots of ice time. That's one of the things. The only way you improve is get ice time. And sometimes a lot of kids aren't physically ready to play in those leagues. They're talented enough, but they're not physically ready to play 4 games in 6 nights. They're not ready for that. So that's what you're going down there to learn.
All right, next question. Chris Blue Shirts. Hey guys, Pierre, I need you to go to work for the Rangers next year and fix their power play. The inability to score in the PP is the reason why they are not in the playoffs this year. Your thoughts? Chris, I think it's a little more than that, but Pierre?
No, I think you're both right. I think it's a little more, but the PP was definitely a problem. I don't know what happened with the Zibanejad stuff. I have no idea. Like, I really don't know. It's very frustrating. I don't know what happened with the Kreider stuff, posting up on the opposition crease. I don't know what happened to Adam Fox this year. He's a critically important part of that power play. I don't know what happened with Panarin this year. It is mind-shattering to think of what happened to that team. I think I know what I'd run as a scheme with their power play. But I don't know what happened to those players. Yeah. Something happened.
Everything kind of went wrong at once.
And it's something. Do you agree, Jimmy?
Yes.
Something happened there.
I think it's more mental and just atmosphere or environment.
It's just tough to digest because you get to know these.
Yeah.
I've known Chris Kreider for a long time since he played at Andover. He's an amazingly intelligent, passionate hockey person.
Yep.
He's not just a hockey smart guy. He's a book smart guy. Adam Fox, I used to go watch him practice at Harvard all the time. He was way too good for college hockey. I used to tell Teddy Donato, this guy's way too good for your team. He goes, I know, I see it in practice.
Yeah.
And so do I. So, you see these guys, you watch Panarin play the World Junior. He played on a line with Tarasenko and Kuznetsov. Mm-hmm. They killed the Canadians in the 2011 gold medal game in Buffalo. Like, I go down the line chapter and verse with all these players.
Right.
And something happened, Jimmy.
Yeah. And it's not like they just stopped when they got to the pros. They continued to do all that.
But that's my point. Like, these guys have all been good for a long time. Right. And then all of a sudden they decided in the same year to be bad.
Right. And it's not like they're that old.
No.
I mean, it's not,
I don't get what I know they're mad at, like, something happened with Zibanejad. I don't know what it was. So I know they were putting stuff out on him in the newspapers. Do you think that's a way to make him play harder?
No.
You had 4 assists yesterday. I know that.
Yeah. So I don't know. They're going to have to figure it out. And it doesn't look like there's going to be any changes in terms of hockey operations. We'll see what happens with the coach. All right, next question. Filterless Bear. Could Jack Guy make a good partner for Hudson? If guys avoid Hudson, worried about a takeaway, they go into the path of Arbor. Nobody will run at him. With Jack Guy, and that 100-mile-an-hour shot is a nice option as well.
I like Arbor a lot. I don't know if he's refined enough to play. He's got some refining to do to play with Lane. He does.
He's a project out there.
That's
not meant in a bad way. He's learning a job, and he's done a great job learning. Like, really, you can see it.
So right now, I can tell you, if the playoffs started tonight, I will just tell you this right now. Arbor Jack Guy's not playing. I said tonight. I didn't say in a week. Right. Tonight. Arbor Jack Guy's in the stands and Jaden Strubal's playing. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that won't change.
Yeah, things can change in a series.
Really quick. Quick. But would I play him with Lane Hudson right now? I would not.
Yeah.
I would not.
That, speaking of things changing in a series really quick too, I'm really excited to see how Marty St. Louis handles that. And I have all the confidence in the world that he will adapt properly. But I think that he is in a much better position now, Pierre, obviously, than he was last year in terms of handling, like you said, things go fast and you got to change so much on the fly in game and game to game. And you've seen the good coaches know how to do it. And that's
one thing it looks like to me is that Stefan Robidas has gotten better and better working with the defense in terms of on the bench time management. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really positive for them because that's a hard job to do. People don't realize, you just change the defense. Not if you're playing matchup games.
Right.
And not in the period of the long change. It's more of a math problem than it is an athletic problem. And I don't want to get too complicated, but I did it at a pretty high level. And it's more complicated than people think. But that's a big asset for Marty to have, St. Louis to have. Mm-hmm. And I think Letowski, and I've talked to Trevor a fair bit, I think Letowski's a really smart hockey guy. Like, I think he's really smart with X's and O's and tactics. And I think that helps Marty too. So he can just focus on either elevating the guys or bringing them down.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important part of what the Montreal Canadiens are about.
Mm-hmm. For
I
sure.
do.
All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, is there any chance we are overlooking Edmonton out west? Arvidsson, Skinner, and Brown have been scoring more lately and playing better. Maybe 97 and 29 missing was a blessing in disguise. Alex, I like what you're thinking there. In terms of, I think there have been some guys that have stepped up, and maybe it was good timing for that, right before the playoffs, and that can carry over. I just don't know if those are the players you want to be depending on to make the difference. I think there's some other guys there that have the potential, but I'm not sure about them.
I don't think anybody's sleeping on Edmonton. I saw the preseason predictions, all the insiders, all of them. And if you're an insider watching the show, I defy you to say you didn't pick them.
Oh, yeah. A lot of them did.
All of them did.
Yeah.
All of them did. So I don't think people are sleeping on them. I didn't pick them.
Yeah.
Because I thought there were deficiencies on defense. I thought there was a lack of depth on defense. And I thought there would be some problems in goal.
Then you thought they were redundant up front.
Way redundant up front.
Yep.
So
I agree.
That's why they lost Broberg, and that's why they lost Holloway, and that's why they lost a lot of depth.
Yep.
So I didn't pick them.
Yep.
And if they win, Jimmy knows me. I would be the first guy to say, boy, did I foul that up. I got it wrong.
And if those guys go on a tear in the playoffs, I'll do the same, Alex. Don't worry. All right, next question. Randy Workman, did the Flames make a mistake by taking William? No.
I don't think so. They're both really good. But here's what I do know. Like, I saw William early in the season, and Jimmy knows, I won't say he got racked twice. I was at the games in Denver, and he got racked, and he never bailed out. That was something I wasn't sure was in the game plan for him. But when I saw those 2 hits, I was like, okay, this kid's tough.
I remember you texted me about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's really good. But Calgary did not. I don't think they made a mistake. The other kid's really good. He's good too.
Just before we go to the next question too, because earlier today I got a text from our good friend Trevor from West End Johnny's there. Pierre, he helped us out a lot with those shows, and hello to him if he's watching. And he said, who do you think will have the more instant effect in the playoffs when he makes the jump to pro, William or Demidov? And I said, I said the former only because I feel like he's more acclimated to the North American game. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
No, I don't disagree, but I do think it's 2 different
positions.
Williams, it's different because you're reading the rush and you can't make mistakes.
Yep.
He will. I can tell you right now. Remember, I said this to you, Jimmy. William will have no problem moving the puck. William will have no problem transporting the puck. William will have no problem in the offensive zone. Zero, right. None.
Back in the other.
And he's not afraid. I can tell you because I saw him get. I told you. I sent you the text. I saw him get racked up pretty good, and he didn't bail. So I don't think he's afraid of that. I'm just wondering about reading the rush in the neutral zone because he gambles, and reading it in his own zone off the cycle, reading the cycle down low. Those are my only 2. And they're not concerns, but that if he has a problem, it'll be there. That's where the problem.
I agree. All right, next question. Ethan Russell, do you think you could do the same comparison with the Rangers versus Bruins that you did with the Rangers versus Canadiens? We actually kind of did, but you know what? For Monday, Ethan, I'll do that for you. Yeah, okay.
But we did do it.
Ethan, if you could hit me up this weekend, because I know we're friends on Twitter, just DM me, say, reminder, Jimmy, do that exercise, and we'll have it ready for you on Monday. All right. All right. Next question.
We did do it though, Jimmy.
Yeah, but I want to, it's not as fresh in my head that I don't want to do it right now. That's
I got it.
JD LaGrange. Hey guys. Hey, JD, 2-part question. You think the Habs can catch the Sens, and can they cause an upset in the first round, in your opinion, against the Caps or Leafs? As I said earlier, I think they have a bet. I think they can, period. I do think they can upset a team in the first round. I like their chances better against Washington. That's just my take. Pierre?
I agree with my partner.
All right. Next question. Randy Workman, what is Matthew? What did I say to you the first thing this morning, Pierre?
Yeah, what's that Matthew Nye's going to get? Yeah, you did say that. Good job, Randy.
Yep.
Mr. Bowman was watching the game, and we talked this morning about it, and he's like, Pierre, this guy's good. I'm like, Yeah, I tried to tell you that when he was at University of Minnesota. I knew he was good. Jimmy, that's what sets me off. And like usually I'm calm about all this stuff.
Yep.
I will never forget, and I'm not going to mention their names, but they know who they are. When Nyes was playing at Minnesota, and I was reading all these different stories. Well, he can't do this and he can't do that, and he's not going to be able to play in the NHL for at least a calendar year, and he's not going to do that. And I'm like, I don't see it. I was there a lot. I was there to watch a kid named Ben Meyer, who ended up signing with Colorado. And he's moved around a fair bit, but he was one of the top free agents available. So I was there a lot back in those days. And I remember people saying all this stuff about Matthew Nyes. And Jimmy, I'm going, they're not even here.
Yeah.
I'm betting they're not watching it on TV. So where are they getting their intel?
Just video.
It drove me nuts. And then I remember doing an interview and I said, well, most people don't like Matthew Nyes to be in the NHL, but I don't ever think he'll see an American League bus. I don't think he'll ever be in the American League.
And you nailed it. I mean, he is, and I know everybody out there right now is saying offer sheet, but go back and watch. It's a week ago today, actually. No, a week ago yesterday, we had Mike Zeisberg on because we had just arrived in Montreal.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, they're going to have plenty of money. Don't worry.
They will. Even if they sign Marner, even if Marner stays, it's not an issue. They'll be fine. They're going to be fine. JT's not going to get what most people think.
No, and I don't think he cares.
And I don't think he cares either. I'm with you. I agree.
Yeah.
No, but I wouldn't worry about. Maybe there'll be an offer sheet, but I wouldn't worry about it. They'll match. That's not going to be an issue.
Next question. Fave. Question for Pierre. If Montreal makes it and plays the Caps, do you think Jack Eye will be slotted in the lineup to respond to Tom Wilson?
Not in the first game. I don't think so.
Exactly.
But I do think if Tommy acts up, and again, every team in the league wants Tommy Wilson on their team. They do. And if Tommy runs around and starts to take some liberties and Josh Anderson's not on the ice, then especially in Washington, because the series will start in Washington, I'd see in game 2 he'd be in.
Yep. We'll see. All right, next question. Juice _031017. How important is the experience of the playoffs for all these young players in Montreal? Huge.
Massive. It's great. And then the guys in Laval, it's great for them too.
Mm-hmm. And even this run to get there. And
I'm going to tell you something right now. Because I'm close to it. Minnesota's American League team probably not going to make the playoffs, but their East Coast League team just made the playoffs for the first time in their franchise history.
Yep.
They're really pumped because some of those guys are already down in Iowa playing. So when their season's over, they're playing Fort Wayne in the first round in the East Coast League.
Yep.
Their guys coming down.
Yeah.
And you know why they're coming down? They need to play.
Yeah.
They need experience, and playoff experience at any level is valuable. It's so valuable.
Agreed. All right, next question. Patty B456. Do you think Pizzetta will suffer long-term health issues from the recent beatdown that was allowed to go on by the refs for far too long?
Yeah,
if that happens, it could be an effect. We'll see.
I feel bad for any of those guys. A long time ago, I lost a player that played for me, and it really bothered me a lot. Mark Potvin. Mm-hmm. And it bothered me for a long time. And I still think about it. So I have a hard time answering those questions. I really do.
All right. Question. Juice _031017. Why didn't the Bruins win more cups in the Bergeron era? It's a great question.
Well, wait a second. Let's be fair here. 2011 was a heck of a win. 13 is because of the Killer Bees from Chicago.
Yeah.
And 19, who I would like to know, because you're the gambling man on this show, who thought that Binnington was going to steal Game 7 in the first 10 minutes of Boston after what happened in Game 6 in St. Louis?
In fact, if I remember correctly, the Bruins were immense favorites heading into that game.
They were, based on what happened in Game 6. So my point is, you mean 3 Stanley Cups aren't enough in that time? I know everybody's anointing the Chicago Blackhawks from 2010 to 2015 as one of the greatest teams in history. They won 3 cups.
Yeah.
That's all Taves, Kane, and Keith won. They only won, I respect them a ton, but they won 3 cups. Bergeron played for 3.
I will say this just to support the question. I do think if the 2015 draft goes a little better, maybe they do win another one.
Okay, so let's just say this. I know one player in 2015 I would have taken that they didn't take, Tommy Shabbat. That's one for sure that I would have taken.
Not Matthew Barzal?
I would, but there's another one. But I'm saying if you were to ask me the first one I would have taken,
okay,
it would have been Tommy, because Tommy played on the same team as the kid they took from the Czech Republic.
Yep.
They were on the same team, in St. John's.
Yes.
Or St. John, excuse me.
Yep.
They're on the same team. So they passed Shabbat and took another guy.
Even though they had to be watching him too all that time.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's the one question mark I have.
And Barzal played in the Western League just like your buddy DeBrus did.
Yep.
So they must have saw him too.
Brock Besser. I don't know. The list goes on. All right. Next question.
You're mean.
Ethan, do you think with Demidov coming over, Wi-Fi will have more value? You mean just because it'd be
in case guys try to rough him up.
Yes. Okay, I see what you said. Yeah. I mean, that threat's there.
Yeah, it's what we call it. I'm taking this from Brian Burke because I'll never forget. He's the first and only guy I ever heard say it. We were in a scouting meeting. He goes, I need to find a nuclear deterrent.
There you go.
And I'm sitting in the boardroom and I'm going, what the heck are you talking about? He said, I need a guy to stabilize the game. I was like, okay. And then he's, no, tough guy. I'm like, okay, I get it, Berkey. I get it.
Good stuff. All right, next question. Stefan Cardinal. I'm watching Demidov highlights, and maybe I'm wrong, but he reminds me a lot of Pat LaFontaine. What do you think?
You know who I compared him to today for Scotty? Maxim Afinoganov. I said, but he's a better player than Afinoganov.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of similarities. Body type, the way they skate, there's a lot of similarities. That's who I compared him to for Scotty today.
All right, next question. Juice 031017. Should Macklin Celebrini go to the Worlds after the season's over? Yes.
If he's healthy, yes. And I'll tell you why. I think he has a chance to make the Canadian Olympic team. I'm not saying he will, but I think he's got a shot. If he goes, I think he'll show them that he's for real. If you look at it in the 06 World Olympics, you can go look at the Canadian roster. There's one young player they left off, and that team was an unmitigated disaster coming out of 02, and it was Sidney Crosby. They left him off.
Wow.
And I was their entire training camp. It was in Kelowna, BC. I'm telling you right now, they left him off, and I was like, whoa, man.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? So I think the answer is yes. If Macklin were to go to the World Championships, if he's healthy, I think that would help him a lot.
All right. Next question. Juice _031017. Is the NCAA the best option for Gavin McKenna, the top 2026 prospect?
I really respect the question. I'm deferring to my partner to answer because I really respect the Western Hockey League and I respect the people in Medicine Hat. So I am not answering that question.
I'm not going to say it's the best option because that's his choice. My support of it, if he chose it, I could understand why, and I think it's because of Pierre and I have discussed it could prepare him better for the NHL, just because he's playing against older, bigger bodies, and he really doesn't have much left to prove at the junior level. But I don't think there's a necessarily flat black and white right or wrong decision. That's the way I'll put it. But I do see the positives of going. I'll put it that way.
Good job. Right. Good answer.
There's some political history in my family here, There you go. Next question. Alex Evanovsky, what should Calgary do moving forward? Do you think about stripping it down a little more and make a play for McKenna next year? You see what 97 and 29 did for the Oilers. Why not think about it? I think Calgary's on the right path and they should stay on it right now.
My biggest concern is what are you going to do with Rasmus Anderson?
Yep.
Get that done.
And I think
I don't know why you're stripping anything down. Why are you stripping that down? Matthew Coronado's a really good player. Nazem Kadri's a good player. They got guys coming. Like Huberdeau's had a good bounce back year.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Huska's done an amazing job with that team.
Yeah.
I can't get it. I spent so much time all over the place, but why isn't anybody in the Canadian media trumpeting this guy as coach of the year?
I don't know.
Everybody thought they'd be a laughing stock.
Yeah.
This year.
I'm with
He's
you.
done a great job, coach.
They got a goalie. Something
it just doesn't like, why are you stripping anything down? I wouldn't strip anything down.
Yep. All right. Next question. John Smith, you're building a team. You can choose 1D, 1 forward, 1 goalie, not currently in the NHL. Who do you got? Cheers.
Well, I'll do the goalie first.
Okay.
Jacob Fowler. He's not in the NHL.
Okay.
He's not in the NHL. I'm going to take Schaefer on defense. He's not in the NHL.
And then McKenna?
Yeah.
I don't mean to be a copycat, but I love that right there.
That's what I'm doing. It's pretty simple.
Yep. I think that's perfect right there. All right. Next question. Fave, do you think Montreal would benefit from finding a veteran Russian for Demidov? We've discussed this before. Yeah. To slot in and learn from if available. Also, thank you, Pierre, and your knowledge is a gift to the game. Merci.
Well, first of all, thank you for that nice note. That means a lot to me, and I'm grateful. I love doing this, and this is my favorite part of the day. Except when I'm in the gym, this is my favorite part of the day. I love working with Jimmy, and I love working with our fans, so grateful for that. I would definitely do that if I were Montreal. Now, there are a lot of different options. You talked, I think, yesterday, Jimmy, about Markov. I think
it's one of our questions.
I think Marky would be really good on that.
Yep.
I told a story about Malkin, right, with Sergei Gonchar living in his house, and his daughter was in high school and teaching him how to learn English by watching TV shows. And it helped Gino a lot. It really did. There's some guys out there that I respect that I think would be good. I just don't want to put them in a bad spot. So somebody says, he said you should go there and you didn't go. And I'm like, okay, just not gonna say.
All right, next question. FFFF. If a Russian player playing in the KHL around 26 or 27 years old, can he still be brought into the NHL by any team, even though he was never drafted by any NHL team? Yes.
The answer is 100% yes, sir.
Yep.
100%. Unless he's on a protected list. Unless he's on it. Well, look at Panarin. Panarin was a free agent.
That's the guy. I knew I was thinking there's somebody in the back of my head. I'm like, somebody pretty big did that.
Panarin.
Yeah.
So you want to hear a cool Panarin story? So Chicago brought him in for a recruiting visit, and they had the lights all out in the United Center, and they turned the spotlights on all the Stanley Cup banners. And when he was in there, and one of the things that was right next to the banners was 72,
which was his number.
Yeah. But the 72 had nothing to do with the Blackhawks. You know what it was for?
No.
The Chicago Bulls won 72 games in a row, or 72 games in one season. So and he's like, "Oh, I love it here. They've already got my number hanging from around."
Did they roll with it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
So that was part of the recruitment of Panarin.
Hopefully he never watched that Netflix special on the Bulls.
Yeah, that's a good one too. But no, Panarin's an example of an undrafted player from Russia that's come over and played. So there are other examples, but he'd probably be one of the more prominent ones.
All right, next question. That's great. Brandon Parker. Hey, guys, question. If Montreal gets eliminated in round 1, is there any possibility Demidov can go to join Laval for the playoffs? Thanks, as always. My condolences to you, Pierre, regarding Mr. Shero.
Very kind of you, Brandon. Thanks very much, and I will relay that. I know the Shero family's watching, so I will definitely relay that as well. Let's just see. Yes, the answer is yes. He can go to Laval as long as he's on their list. I got to think they listed him, Jimmy. You and I didn't see the American League protected list for the playoffs.
I haven't checked it out either. But
So I'd have to think if they knew this was an opportunity that he'd be on their list. Okay. But like I went through this with Berkey and Michael Nylander. Nylander didn't report to Springfield. We sent him there, and he ended up going to play for Sweden at the World Championships. So I don't know that. You know what? They might have listed him, but maybe he's got a deal in there with the Canadiens where he doesn't go there. He plays World Championship. I don't know. So that's a tricky question, Jimmy. Just to be fair to the questioner.
Well, wait. Is Russia there though?
I don't know. Are they there? I don't even
I
know.
think they're allowed there to
Oh,
play.
they're not?
Yeah.
Are they not there now? No, then it's
Yeah.
a moot point. I
There we go.
apologize.
That's okay.
Thank you. No, that's good. Good catch by
Should
you.
be there though, Pierre, but that's a
Wow.
whole other topic. All right, next
I
question.
liked what Dan Milstein said
I
yesterday.
did too. Yeah, that was very he the way he said it wasn't too political or
No, he
forceful.
did it in a very intelligent way.
Yeah.
I thought he was good. Dan
Hockey.
did a really good job, yeah.
And thanks again to Dan for joining us. It was a great
Yeah.
interview. All right, next question. Evan Posner. Even during this amazing winning streak, the Habs are getting off to slow starts. Even Gooley said they are a third period team. This will not work well in the playoffs. What can the coaching staff do? Totally agree, Evan. The one thing I will say, and I think Pierre will agree with me, I think they've been out of gas. They played a lot of games, and they're going to have to do that in the playoffs. I know, but I'm just saying they hit a wall, and the fact they still hit the wall and kept winning, that's a good sign.
I think there's one thing they could think about doing. Getting a line out there to start the game, just the first shift, and you tell them all you got to do is just get puck possession, get the puck deep, and let's get some momentum going early. It doesn't always work, but it gives you a better opportunity. You remember how the Islanders had that identity line with Cal Clutterbuck and Casey Cizikas and Matt Martin? They started every game, but they were the fourth line of the team. And they started every game because they knew they were going to get puck possession, they were going to get big hits, and they were going to get the crowd and the team into it. Yeah. So I think if you can create I'm not saying Montreal has that, but if you can create some kind of identity off the hop, it makes a difference.
Even the Gallagher line, I think, could do that, Pierre.
Well, if you did that with Dvorak, Gallagher, and Anderson, Jimmy, I think it might be a good idea. You know, they were doing it with Jake Evans, with Armia when he was healthy, and Heineman when he was healthy. They were starting some games with those guys, and it seemed to pay off because Jake won probably 70% of his faceoffs to start games. Made a big difference.
All right, next question. Ethan Russell. Not sure if you guys got into golf.
Scotty Scheffler. Hey,
I don't know
golf. The top
golf.
of my screen is the Masters is on right now. Just so you know. So yes, I'm taking Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah. All right.
I like Justin Rose, though. I know he was in the lead. I don't know if he still is.
What's my Irishman looking like? Rory.
Little Rory. I don't know. Rory was heating up, and then he kind of cooled off, so I don't know where he's at right now.
Hope he wasn't partying with the Giants this week.
I'm not saying anything. By the way, they sent out some really nice notes. Our buddies that own and run the Belfast Giants, Stevie Thornton and Robert Fitzpatrick, they're just really good guys. They're really, awesome. Really good guys.
I love them. All right,
you can't get back there fast enough.
I can't wait.
I know.
All right,
we're going twice next year, Jimmy.
I know. Could be dangerous. All right, next question. Surf X11. Do you target the Rangers this summer for Alex Lafreniere if you have a turnover in management?
I would not.
No.
I would not.
If you could get him cheap, maybe I do. Maybe I do.
But I just need to see more. Did they break him too? Like, did they rip into him and break him?
Yeah. That's what I'm worried about.
That's what I'm worried about. Yeah. That's what I'm not sure.
All right. Next question. Peter Puck. Hey, guys, all the insiders are saying it will take Demidov a while to get used to the difference in ice size. Do you feel the same way? Have a great evening. I like that.
You know, Peter Puck, I have to tell you, most of the Russian rinks are NHL size now. So those insiders are clearly not watching the games.
I was just going to say that, Pierre. And the other thing, too, I don't know. I think this kid's – he might not be as good as everyone thinks right off the hop, but I think he's going to be all right.
He's good.
Yeah, next question.
Don't worry about the talent. It's just getting accustomed to NHL play, which it's way – that's different than the KHL. If the insider said that, I would say you're right.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Pierre. All right, next question. Randy Workman, does Wolf get picked for USA for the World?
He could very well. California kid, he could very well get picked if he wants to go. He could very well. Yeah.
All right, next question. Vincent Yoyal. Hello, gentlemen. What is your favorite choice for an all-star Four Nations break game? I love the country versus country format.
Yeah, you know what, Vincent? A lot of us did too, except we don't own the NHL teams. I'm not sure the owners fell in love with that concept, especially when they lost some really good players for a long period of time.
Yeah. And
I'm not sure on that one.
I showed Pierre something today about the
Oh my goodness. What a good catch by you.
East, the 4 best teams in the East since the 4 Nations face-off.
You want me to read it, Jimmy? Because I'm going to pull it up for you. Hold on. I'm going to get it for you right now. Jimmy sent me this today, and I was like, wow. Montreal, 14-4-4. Leafs, 15-6-2. Tampa Bay, 14-6-3. Senators, 13-7-2. So Jimmy and I did an exercise based on those stats that Jimmy pulled up.
Yep.
And there's one thing that's common about all those teams.
Except
Montembeault kind of doesn't count.
Yep, except for Tampa.
Yeah. Well, no, the goalie.
Yeah. The goalie wasn't there. You're right.
The goalie.
Yeah.
The goalie.
The common thread, no matter what that we got, was that defense and goaltending wasn't affected health-wise. You look around at some of these other teams who have created since the 4 Nations face-off, and a lot of them had injuries that are connected to that. Look at Florida. That's like the prime example right there.
And that was only the East. We didn't do the West.
We didn't even do the West.
But the one thing that we could say coming out of that is all those top players up front for St. Louis, they weren't there. And Binnington was there, but Binnington projectiled upwards.
Exactly.
Because he wasn't playing well before the thing.
He was playing horrible.
Jimmy, the last game, I'm telling you, it stood out to me. I was sitting at Ryan Donato's in-laws house watching the game, okay? And Ryan was on a heater at that point. He still is. And they were playing in St. Louis. And they ended up winning the game. Seth Jones was still part of the Chicago Blackhawks. And I'm just telling you right now, Binnington was no good in that game. That was the last game before they went to the 4 Nations. I was like, oh, boy, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
And this guy just ballooned right out of this thing. It's unbelievable.
He has his swagger back now. It's
All
right, next question. P, Habs' final game of the season is on April 16th versus Carolina. Are you convinced we see a Nikishin versus Demidov matchup? Potentially.
I'm convinced Demidov will play in that game.
Yep.
I don't know about Nikishin, but I'm convinced Demidov will play in that game.
All right, next question. P, question, it's really hard to find any info regarding Reinbacher re-aggravating his injury. Excuse me, any insight you can share? I do not know.
I do not have any either, and I apologize for that. I don't. And Jimmy knows this. At this time of the year, all of my friends that I touch base with different teams, I don't ever ask about injuries, and it's just I've been in their shoes, and I just don't like to do it. I don't like. It's not a myth.
I know fans think it's overblown. It's a myth that why we don't release injuries or teams don't release that. They say upper body, lower. They do. They get targeted. Trust me. If a team knows where a guy's hurt, and this man right here could vouch for me there.
I'm going to back Jimmy up on this because I was that guy.
No lie.
Yeah, just trust me. When you find something out, it's very predatory.
Yes.
That's all I can say.
Anything you can do to win. All right, next question. Ron LaRoque. Pierre, do any scouts go to Hungary? I know someone whose boy is over there. I never knew that was a thing in Hungary.
What's interesting, hockey's actually growing there. Mm-hmm. And Minnesota has actually 2 guys that are playing on one of their farm teams that are Hungarian. So the answer is, they're starting to produce some players, which is kind of neat. So, I mean, do NHL teams have somebody scouting there? No, I would say, if anything, they'd probably go watch them play at the World Championships, but they're not in the A pool. I think they're in the B or the C pool, but I think it's starting to grow there based on what I've heard. Right. It's the same, like people forget Mariusz Czerkowski. Remember him, Jimmy? Mariusz Czerkowski was a great player from Poland, but he played a little in Poland, but what he did is he played in Sweden, which is just across the water. And he had a tremendous career in Sweden, like a really good career in Sweden. And he was a good NHL player.
He's not from Hungary, but there is a Hungarian descent player on Vegas, Kolazar.
Very good catch by you. Very good.
I'm gonna find it, Pierre, and I'm gonna send it to you sometime, and then I'll talk about it maybe Friday or Monday. There's a great story I urge everyone to check out. It's called The Whiskey Robber, and it's about a Hungarian hockey player who also was a bank robber. True story. Cool book. I'll find who wrote it. I forget, but I read it way back. It's awesome. I have the book, Pierre. I'll give it to you. I'll send it to you. It was a really great read.
Okay.
All right. That's it for today. We want to thank Eric Lacroix for joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network, live from St. Louis, right before the Frozen Four, which is now underway with the first game. Just started 5 o'clock. Last I checked, 0-0. And of course, Pierre's focused in on the Masters as well. So we know there's a lot of sports watching for you to get to right now. So thanks to everyone for watching, taking the time here today. We appreciate it. And as always, we appreciate your questions. Thanks to Shane working the boards. And we will talk to you tomorrow live. We're going to be live now on Fridays going forward because on campus is pretty much done after the Frozen Four. So we'll be live every Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. Join us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.